Continuing on with our series of videos about making strings, it occurs to us not everyone wants to make a string, do they?
No.
You might want to order one, but there are some things that you'll need to know if you want to order one. What are those things, and what do we need to? What information do we need to make the string?
We need to know the length of the bow between the knock grooves measured down the back.
Right.
So here's a bow without a string. Let's have a go. So
this is the back
down
of the
back
bow.
of the bow.
And why we're using the back?
Yeah, because often if the bow's got a bit of a set in it,
right,
and we just measure one end to the other, it's going to be slightly shorter than measuring down the back. So
right. So
we're going to get.
So if we measured down the belly, you're saying there'd be a gap.
If it's got a bit of a natural bend in it,
right,
it'll be, the measurement we'll get might be slightly shorter.
Right.
Probably we can work with that, but if
we
we say measure down the
that
back,
physical length,
because that's where the groove is in the knock anyway.
Yeah.
So it's the obvious place to measure it.
Yeah.
So put the end of the tape in the groove in the top knock.
Yeah.
Take that down, right down and to the.
So the other groove, so that's 68 inches.
68. Okay. So we only need the measurement to the nearest inch. So 68 inches. So the information we would want is the bow is 68 inches long between the knock grooves. We also need to know the draw weight of the bow. This one is a lady's bow and it only weighs 25 pounds. That's so we can put the correct number of strands in the string. Bowstring, the old Dacron, was 50 pounds a strand breaking strain. So pretty strong stuff. And a bow of this sort of weight, we probably have, let's say 10 strands. So that would be 500 pound breaking strain, which is more than enough. You need a factor of safety of about 7 or 10, something like that.
Right.
But the string would be plenty strong enough, but it needs to be thick enough, to fit the knock nicely. When you've served it, obviously this doesn't have any serving on it yet. Also, if the string is too thin, you're going to get some extra speed out of the bow, but you won't be shooting quite as steadily. When I used to shoot recurve, to experiment with different strands of string, and a 12-strand string gave it a nice steady flight. If I dropped it to 10, it increased the cast a little bit of speed, but the arrow just didn't fly quite as steadily. So you need the string thick enough, but not over thick. So we would adjust the number of strands depending on the weight of the bow. A man's bow, it's a target bow, 50 odd pounds, about 14 strands would be the normal number of strands in that type of string. For this material, we're now using B55, which is a polyester type.
So we'll calculate
material.
all that for you, as long as you give us that information.
That's right.
So length of the bow, down the back, so you're not getting any gap in between the belly.
That's
right. Down the physical length of the bow, from the knock slot to knock slot.
Correct.
The weight of the bow.
The weight of the bow.
Does the draw length make any difference?
No, that won't make any difference.
Right.
No, it's just the length and the weight of the bow. The string you'll get will be plenty long enough, and you need to tie a bowyer's knot.
So they'll get it with a single loop one end.
It will have a loop, laid in loop one end. It's a Flemish laid in string. So loop one end, so you put that over the bow down a few inches just to give you enough for bracing height, and then you can measure off there, and that's where you'll then put your bowyer's knot as in the first place, just to see if it's right. You'll probably have to adjust the length a few times. So that's your bowyer's knot, and if that's in the correct place, you've then got extra length of string that you don't really need. So you can just tie a knot in it somewhere, pair of scissors, just trim off the excess length.
Right.
As we did send a string to someone, and he, I think, assumed he would be doing the bowyer's knot right at the end of the string and wondered why it was too long.
Yeah, I think people, when we're asking for this information of what length is the bow, I think people are assuming we're doing that so we can make the string the correct overall length. But we're not asking it to make asking that for that information to make the string a particular length.
No, one of the main reasons so we can get the serving in the correct place. The serving, the whipped on serving where the arrow will fit, obviously important. If we know the length of the bow, we can get that in the correct place, and we can make sure you've got enough length at the end to be able to tie the bowyer's knot, and then if necessary trim off any excess.
So basically the string will always be more longer
Yep.
than the measurement you give us for your bow anyway.
Exactly.
You're not receiving something that's specifically the length for that bow.
No.
It's really just that serving in the middle that's going to be in the right
and
place.
then the actual string will be a little bit longer than you need, and then when you've done your bowyer's knot, if you want, you can then trim off the excess.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. So again, for people who don't want to have a go at making your own string, we will be including this video in our series of videos about making your own string. So I think it's important to know. Some people get at the end of watching a video on how to make their own string and think that's beyond them. I wouldn't say it's that hard, but obviously, say some people haven't necessarily got the time to make their own string, or don't want to buy the materials to make their own string, because the spool, I don't know, we haven't got a spool here lying around, but the spool makes how many strings you get out of a spool?
About 10.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you do buy all the equipment to make your own string, you're going to have a lot of left over if you only ever make one string. So it may not be economical. You may be better off getting us to make you one, or whoever you buy your equipment from.
Yes. A string will last a long time.
Yeah. Yeah,
even if you only change it every year.
Yeah, I mean, we advise to change it every year. Obviously, some people may only shoot 2 or 3 times a year. They may not need to do so. But if you're shooting regularly, then it's worth it. Now, Richard's got out a different bow here.
Yeah.
The bow that we were just using there to measure with is the standard Victorian target longbow, which I expect most people are going to be using. We obviously measured down the back of that, sorted out the length. What is the difference between that then and this, which is a medieval style? So this is there's no handle section, it isn't 2 limbs, it's one big long limb.
Yeah, as far as the length goes, exactly the same. Measure from knock to knock, down the back of the bow. Ignore all the lumps and bumps, but just a straight line down the back. Again, we'd need the weight. Very often a warbow is heavier than a normal target bow,
right?
So we'd have more strands in the string. So if you say, oh, my bow's £100, okay, that's fine, we'll give you a string that's got more strands in it to give that extra factor of safety and the extra strength. But there won't be a handle on it probably. Hopefully whoever made it has put the arrow pass about 1 inch above dead center, so we will serve the string assuming that. So if you say, oh no, my centre's there, or where you want the serving to come, but that complicates things.
So is it a different centre of the bow to the Victorian?
It shouldn't be different.
Right.
It shouldn't be different. The dead centre of the bow is generally 1 inch below the actual arrow pass.
Right.
So that's where we would allow the serving to make sure there's enough serving, for you to put your 3 fingers round on the serving. We've got an old string somewhere with some serving on it. There we go. If you hold that bow a minute. So that's the serving. You probably can't see from the picture, but this has actually started to wear a little bit. Obviously it's hitting the bracer, and that's the idea of it. It stops the actual string from fraying.
Right.
And the serving will wear. You can actually reserve a string if you want to, take the serving off and put it on again.
So it can give a bit of extra life to the string.
Well,
anyway.
it does. That's the object of it. It gives a better fit for the knock, obviously.
Yeah.
And you get a better loose with this serving, but it also protects the string from fraying. So you need the serving long enough so you can get your 3 fingers around the serving, and obviously enough so that if it hits your bracer, it's hitting the serving and not the string. So that's why we need that measurement, so we get this in the correct place. So with a medieval bow, we assume it's been made with that physical centre of the bow 1 inch below the arrow pass, which is normal for most bows.
Yeah.
So there we go. If you got a string from us and the serving wasn't in the right place, tell us and send it back, and we'll redo it.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And obviously, wherever you buy your bow, wherever you get your equipment, these things are worth checking to see if have been done correctly. So when you do brace up the bow, obviously at the moment it doesn't look like the serving's in the correct place with the bow as it is. But obviously once you brace it up, the serving should be covering that handle section and where you're going to be drawing, as Richard's just pointed out. Obviously that's worth checking. If you find that it isn't, you may have the string on the bow upside down,
Could do that.
which is also a possibility, particularly if you've got a double-ended, double-looped laid-in string. Because obviously the string can be one way up as compared to the other.
Anyway, this sounds it's getting more too complicated.
Is it
We
too
just want the
complicated?
physical length of the bow and the draw weight, nothing else.
Yeah, if you're ordering a string, that's all you need. On our website, it is on there. There are little drop-down boxes where you can put in that information, which is the length of the string and the weight of the bow. We've actually done it in groups, so you don't have to put the specific weight of the bow. It'd be sort of 80 to 100, 60 to 70. There's a sort of group bands of weight,
Yeah,
because the string,
it's not
it
critical.
wouldn't vary too much
No.
between 60 and 70. It doesn't.
And there's because of the strength of each strand, it's more than
the
strong
safety,
enough.
the safety is very
Yeah,
high.
it is.
So it's say on the website, easy drop down boxes, you can do that. The one other thing that we do need to point out in the information that we would need is what bow it is. We've only showed 2 types of bow here. You obviously can buy a string from us for whatever bow it is you happen to have. So if it's not a longbow, not an English longbow, then let us know what type of bow it is that you want the string for, just in case. It's worth pointing that out.
Yes,
Because we do have people buy strings for other types of bows.
Yeah, but a lot of modern recurve bows will have a served loop each end.
Yeah,
and
which
that's
we
not
don't.
the
That's
sort
not,
of string
no.
we make. So
No.
if you've got a recurve bow, go to one of the major archery retailers, tell them what bow you've got, and you'll buy a string off the shelf.
Yeah,
We're making bespoke strings for longbows, really.
Yeah, where you will have to learn how to do the bowier's knot.
Yeah.
Specifically what these
Yeah.
types are. There you are. I hope that was useful. It certainly will help us when people order strings. Hopefully people understand what they're doing now when they're ordering, and understand what they receive in the post, and we don't get too many people wondering why their string is a foot longer than they actually need and they can't quite work it out. Hopefully that's cleared that up. As I say, I will be putting this video into our other videos and doing one big long video which will hopefully cover everything to do with strings. If you feel there's something we've missed out or something else you want to know, let us know in the comments below. And if you've got any other queries in general, let us know. Although we can't help you with any political matters or health matters,
We can try.
we can give it a go. If, I don't know, financial problems that you may have, let us know. We'll see if we can help. But mainly the longbow and arrows, as you can see, these sorts of things. If you would like to
We know
subscribe,
a little bit about that. Don't know much about money, do we?
no, not really. If you'd like
Or
to
medical
subscribe, there's a thing
Except
there.
for leeches. Leeches are good.
There's another video over his face. if you want to
Bloodletting.
watch
That's
that.
good.
No, none of these, please, none of these.
Go on.
Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you again soon.